What's up, y'all? I'm back out here at the range, as you can see behind me, on what should end up being a fantastic day to get some testing done. So I've got several interesting things on the agenda, and we're gonna start it out with some 380. So y'all know the drill. We got the jelly contraption set up with the chrono and 2 freshly melted blocks of gel. I've got them covered up here to keep the sun off of them, but as you can see, really nice and clear. No test done in them yet. I'm also, of course, staying with that heavy clothing barrier that's got the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt material. And what we're checking out today is a couple of 380 ACP rounds that I've actually tested in the past. Both of these rounds, now just different circumstances. I hadn't done some of them through cloth. I haven't ever done them up against each other, maybe not out of this particular barrel length. And I've had several people asking me to test these up against each other, just basically to see how similar they are, because these are a very similar design as far as the projectile. They're both fluted solid rounds, although different as far as the shape of them. These are more of a spiral fluting there, and then these are more straight. So what we got here, first off, obviously we got the ARX Inceptor 380s. These are really light, 56 grains. They're saying they're moving at 1260 feet per second. And then we also got, of course, the Underwood Xtreme Defender here with that Lehigh Xtreme Defender projectile. It's a 68 grainer. This one's saying 1300. So already we know they're not just as good if you're just going straight pound for pound and doing the math, because these are heavier, and even though they're heavier, they've still got more velocity, if that stands to be the case. So if that is the case, then already these have the edge over the Inceptors. But when you're talking about this level of energy, does that really make a big difference? You know, that's debatable. So really, I want to just see these side by side and see what kind of action we get in the gel. Again, this Inceptor, it's actually a polymer copper blend. It's like a centered kind of round, like blended up powder type of deal. And then obviously the Xtreme Defender is a solid copper projectile. And what I'm gonna run these things out of is my Ruger LCP Max here. It's got the 2 3/4 inch, I believe 2.8 inch technically, barrel on it. But this ought to be another good one. Me personally, if I had to make a choice right now between these two, it would be the Xtreme Defender. But let me get this stuff set up and let's see if these Inceptors are just as good. All right, let's see if we can get some speeds on these things. Now, as you know, I normally do a 5-round average on each round that I test. In this case, I'm gonna do 5 of these ARX Inceptors, but I'm only gonna do 3 of the Xtreme Defenders. And the only reason why is because I planned a little poorly here and I didn't realize it before I started getting things ready. I've only got 6 total of those standard pressure Xtreme Defenders. So that would be exactly enough to put 5 and 1 in the gel. However, if I were to miss that gel or something goes wrong, then my whole video scratch. So I'm gonna do 3 rounds and have an extra if something goes wrong. So I'll do 5 of these ARX Inceptors though. Remember, these are, I believe, 56 grains, and they were saying 1260 as far as the velocity. Also, again, if you're not familiar with this lab radar, you'll get multiple readings from it. You're gonna get a big number, which is gonna be your muzzle, and then you'll get 5 other readings that I've got set for 3 yards, 7, 10, 25, and 50. So I don't know that we'll get all of those readings with this really light, small projectile, but we'll see what happens. Got 1166, 1172, 1177, 1160, and 1198. So not the 1260, but not too terrible, although it's only a 56 grain projectile. Let's check out the average. All right, so our 5-round average that time was 1175 feet per second. We had an extreme spread of 38 and a standard deviation of 14.6. So again, not that 1260, but that little short LCP Max. I'm not gonna get on a rant, but y'all know how I feel about that little short barrel on that thing. Let's get this reset and let's see what the Xtreme Defenders do. All right, let's check out these Xtreme Defenders. Now remember, these are 68 grain and they were saying 1300, so we'll see how close these get. Again, I'm only doing 3 rounds on this. Now, one thing I will mention about those Inceptors is that was some incredibly light recoil on that stuff right there. So we'll see how this compares if I can try to remember. Let's see what we get here. That was 75 yards, y'all. 1194. Didn't get it that time. 1235. and $11.99. So definitely faster than those Inceptors, not the 1300 again though. And again, it's the LCP Max with this short barrel. So let's check out the average on this. All right, before I forget, I just to mention that right there definitely had a little more snap to it, but still nothing that unpleasant at all. And I think I mentioned before that I have changed this spring out to the M Carbo flat aluminum trigger shoe and the trigger springs in here. I've got their trigger spring kit with the 10-pound hammer spring. Let me tell y'all something, worth every single penny. It's worth every single penny. It really made this thing a whole lot more pleasant to run. But anyway, as far as the data on this one, we got 1209 average. We had an extreme spread of 41 and a standard deviation of 22.3. But now keep in mind, that was only 3 rounds. So, you know, take that standard deviation extreme spread for what it's worth. So 1209 average on that. And if you remember on those Inceptors, it was 1175. So that's what, 34 feet per second faster from the heavier Extreme Defender rounds. So already they're definitely not just as good if you're going pound for pound, number by number. So already the Extreme Defender has the edge. That being said, I still think they're going to do pretty similar in the gel. I think the Defender might have the edge on penetration, but let's get this stuff set up and y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, does a flute by any other name still perform the same? Jelly time. I'm gonna put one of each round into the gel, starting with these Inceptors first. Let's see what these do. I suspect they're gonna do well, but I think they might be a little lacking on penetration. Let's see what happens here. All right, that should have been a perfect round right there. Let's go check it out. All right, y'all, we're looking pretty good down there with that one, about what I figured. Let's try this Defender. I expect this is gonna penetrate a little more, but could be wrong. Let's see what happens. All right, that should have been another good one. That was awful close over there. Hopefully we okay. Let's go check out what we got. And that right there is exactly why I only ran 3 rounds on the velocity in case something went wrong. That actually went in absolutely perfect. I hate that that messed up like that. It went in perfect placement, but then it curved and barely came out the side. It was so at the end of its travel that it plopped down right there on the table. It didn't even go anywhere after it came out the gel. That being said, I'm gonna send another one just to make sure exactly how far that penetration did go. So let's see what we get. Hopefully this don't start getting ugly. This is where things tend to take a turn for the worst. All right, I think that should be a pretty good one right there. Let's go see what we got. All right, y'all, let's check out what we got here. Really nice performance from all of these. Pretty much what I expected to see. It's basically what I've seen every time from these type of rounds. So up on the top, we got that ARX Inceptor. As you can see, comes in here, immediate disruption. None of these types of rounds really care anything about that cloth. Nice disruption, especially for a 380. Now, right about here or either towards the end is where it tumbled, because it absolutely tumbled. It's sitting down here backwards in the gel. So now, you know, tumbling in general is not necessarily a bad thing, especially in something like a 380, because y'all know one of my choices of the best 380 rounds anyway is an FMJ, so you won't tumbling in that case. However, with this type of fluted round like this, you're really kind of losing that effect after it tumbles. Now, if it tumbled at the end, you know, good enough, and it actually got that action right there, so it's probably not that big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, but either way, I would personally rather see this type of round not tumble. But again, it did what it needed to do, and it looks like it got adequate penetration. It looks like about maybe 13 inches or so. So down below that, obviously, that's our Xtreme Defenders. Now, the one that's angling up that went out right there, y'all see it ended. It actually went out right there, even with this ARX Inceptor, and the round is sitting right down there. It basically plopped out, skint the cardboard just a little bit. It wasn't even moving fast enough to go through the cardboard, skint the cardboard, and then dropped down, and it's laying right here here on the table I'll show you. So the second one I took, it actually is the same level as far as height. You can see a little bit difference, but it's in front of that other one, so it's kind of hard to differentiate between the two tracks. But just trust me when I'm telling you, they look nearly identical, and I'll show you from above. So about the same size disruption from both of those, and about the same size disruption as this ARX Inceptor. If I was going to call anything from this angle, it looks like the Inceptor got a little bit more impressive disruption, but they're basically about the same. So anyway, again, that one keeps on trucking through here. Now that right there is probably where it tumbled, because this one tumbled also. So the Inceptor and the Xtreme Defender tumbled in here. Now, was that partly because of the short barrel of the Max not stabilizing it good enough? You know, probably so. That's probably part of it. But as you can see, it didn't tumble till late in the game here. So again, not necessarily a bad thing, but something I would rather not see in this type of round. But as far as the penetration on it, the ARX Inceptor is at exactly 12 3/4 inches of penetration. So adequate if you're going by the FBI standards. Y'all know me, I would personally like to see a little more than that. This Xtreme Defender, the first one went out at exactly 13 inches. The second one that we caught here actually went out to exactly 14 inches. So nice penetration on that one there. And here's a little closer look from the side. Again, Inceptor on the top, bottom two Xtreme Defenders. There's your rounds there, your projectiles. You can see both of them sitting backwards. And then if you look overhead here, try to get you at like an angle. That top one there, well, we'll separate this one. That was the first Defender there, the one on the very top. You can follow it and see where it scoots right out the side. And then if you can see, I'll keep this intact if I can. You can see it skint the cardboard but didn't even go out. And then if you look down there, you can see the projectile sitting. And if I bring you over here on this side, you can see this one right here, that was the Underwood that went out the side. You follow it, popped right out. And then right behind it, that was the Underwood that we kept, obviously. And there's your projectile again, both of them turned around backwards. All right, let's check out these projectiles, y'all. Obviously, Xtreme Defender here, the ARX Inceptor here. Not really a whole lot to see. Both of them completely intact, no kind of deformation at all. But now, as you can see, a little closer look here, definitely different in the design. This Inceptor's got more of a spiral cut to it, whereas this Xtreme Defender is more of a straight down cut, you can see there. And then on the back side, this one's solid all the way through. The Xtreme Defender is hollowed out a little on the bottom, obviously to keep the size and the weight in check because of the heavier material. So again, not a whole lot to see here, but we'll do some measuring on them and see what we got. So as far as the weight, the Inceptor started at 56. And we've got 56.4 grains, so I'm sure we're not gonna see loss on any of this stuff. The Underwood started at 68. This one here is at 68.3, and then this one here was the one on the back side. I didn't bother showing y'all that because it looks exactly the same. That's the one that popped out the back. This one here is 68.1, so again, no loss on anything. And then as far as the size, obviously no kind of expansion, but we'll measure the diameter and the length anyway. You got 355 there on that Inceptor and a length of 511. And then on your Xtreme Defender here, you got 354 diameter and a 505 on the length. And there you have it, y'all, the Underwood Xtreme Defender and the ARX Inceptor. Two similar rounds as far as the design. There are some differences in them, just little subtle differences, but basically the way they perform is pretty much the same. As far as what we saw out here today, obviously the Xtreme Defender has the edge on the speed and the energy. Now, is that energy difference enough to make a difference in this case with this 380? You know, y'all have to be the judge of that. As far as in the gel, both of them did a pretty good job. I would like to see a little more penetration, but that's me. I'm sure that's plenty for most people though, so let me know down in the comments if you had a choice between these two rounds, which one would you pick? All right, y'all, we're gonna wrap it up right there for another 380 test. Pretty good performance for both of these rounds out here today. Basically what we've seen them do in the past, so no real surprise. As far as the tumbling, I can't really remember all the tests, but I'm sure we've seen them tumble before. Maybe we've seen them tumble every time and I just can't remember, but that's the one thing I would rather not see these rounds do. You know, tumbling again in the overall grand scheme of things is not a bad thing, but when you're paying a premium, you know, I always go back to that. When you're paying a premium for a round that is supposed to behave and perform a certain way, I personally expect it to do that. You know, if I'm relying on chance, then FMJ is as cheap as you can get, and it gives you a chance. You know, you might tumble, you might not. With this stuff here, with that hydraulic action and with the fluting and the design of it, I would want it to get that action and stay forward the whole entire way. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it did do its thing at the beginning of the travel there, so maybe that's about all you were going to get out of it anyway, and I'm being a little bit too picky, but overall, I think they did a good job. But let me know what y'all think about what you saw from both of them out here today. If you had to pick again between these two, which one would you choose? There's a few more of this type of rounds, these fluted type rounds. I think maybe Norma even makes one. I believe the G2s or the G9s or whatever. I think it's the G9s. I believe they're similar. I've tested some Black Hills Honey Badger. They're really similar. So there's a lot of these fluted rounds. You know, obviously from what we see just from the design of them, they're not exactly the same, and the velocity and the energy is going to be different between them. But, you know, overall, do you think they all basically do the same thing? Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. If you did enjoy the video, reach down and hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you got your notifications turned on so you don't miss anything when I upload it. If you're doing some shopping, check out the affiliate links down below in the video description. Anything you buy after going through those links down there, I get a kickback from them towards the channel, so I really do appreciate that. Again, I appreciate all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all out there for supporting the channel. I've got a lot more good stuff planned for out here, so stay on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.